Welcome everyone, this is Ikebana and I am Christina. I'm here to just show you very basic principles of Ikebana, the materials and how to just simply begin doing it in your home. I'll start with the materials. You have clippers, there's several kinds. The most important thing that they're sharp. I often have scissors as well and other different varieties depending on the stems and materials I'm working with. In addition to the clippers, you have your vase, and we'll talk about different kinds of vases as we go along. And then the most unusual and kind of fun part is this kenzan. And the kenzan is a sort of heavy metal base with all of these different nail heads coming out. And that is what allows you to place the flowers. They still get water and they stay up. So that's the kenzan. So for our first arrangement here, I'm going to place a kenzan over to the side. And we're going to start with a slanted arrangement. And basically I'm going to take 3 of the same materials and create a bowl to begin with. And I have these lovely flowers from my garden, and I have 3 of them. And the first one will be the more predominant one, and I'll take the longer one with the fuller flowers cluster on it. And I want to have a slant going to the side, about 45 degrees. So when we cut our flowers, we want to make sure that we cut them underwater. The reason being, it doesn't allow the air bubbles to get up into the stem, which preserves the flower longer. So, water here. Traditionally, you want to have it be about 2.5 or 2 times the length and plus the width. For me, that's just a little too long, so I'm going to cut it down. And then when I do the final cut, I'm going to make sure I cut it underwater, again, so that bubble doesn't come up into the stem. So you place the into the kenzo, you place it in, and then once you've placed it, you can start to manipulate it to see the different angle that you may want. Okay. My second one is going to come not straight up, maybe a little bit slanted towards this first one. And the height, I really want to make sure it doesn't take away from this. This last one, I'm going to angle it straight out, but it's going to be quite a bit shorter. And as you see, I have something over here to catch the scraps as I cut them. I'll place it to the front of the kenzo, so I leave space in the middle of the kenzan to arrange my other flowers. The space is as important as the flower itself, and you want to keep enough space around each of the flowers and stems so that you can see it. There's an integrity to each of them. I think I'm going to put some of this bush into it. Now these heavier stems don't necessarily need to be cut underwater. Now this is quite a heavy bush, and so I am going to edit out and bring out the beauty a little bit more. So as you can see, it's still quite full. I'm going to edit some more. Creating a little more shape and space. Yeah. And so I'm going to fit this one into the Kenzan here. And then I can arrange the leaves how I want it. You don't want too much kind of crowding and overlapping. Again, keeping that space as an important ingredient in your arrangement. I'm going to create just a little bit more ground, or what we call earth. Moving up just slightly. Dark yellow, and it'll sort of mirror this slight tinge of yellow in there. Okay, so I have just the typical mums. Again, I'm going to edit out the extra flowers. Really just leave the ones that I feel will enhance and not take away from any of the other flowers that I have in here already. Beautiful. And I think just needs a little more energy going this way. Just maybe one more delicate flower. Even a bud. Here's a nice flower with a bud. And let me take this one back out just because sometimes I forget to cut it underwater. For our next arrangement, I have a bowl, a round bowl with a kenzan in its center. And we're going to look at a vertical arrangement. And I have this beautiful flower. And I'm going to leave 3 of the flowers. Typically in Japanese, 4 means death, and they don't recommend having 4 flowers. So I'm going to leave these 3, editing out so the extra stems. And this is going to be what I call like the heaven branch. And often what's referenced in Ikebana is heaven, earth, and then human that connects heaven and earth. And heaven branch is the first branch. It is seen as the tone setter. So right now it's just open space. As soon as we lay something in there, you have a direction. So this is the space of dreams and vision and you know, what you feel is possible. So for our heaven branch, I'm going to take our 3 flowered and lean it slightly forward and to the side. I sort of like the way that one's leaning up against that. One of the tendencies, especially when I do this with my children at school, is they put everything in so it's just going straight up. And I talk to them about, you know, how it's seen in nature. We might maybe go outside and look, and nature isn't straight lines, it's all over the place. So we want to study nature to learn how we can bring their design, their lack of symmetry, more asymmetry, into our arrangements. Now that we have heaven, I want to create some earth. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to layer a couple of earth. I have this juniper with these lovely berries on it. And I want to take it, and one of the purposes of earth is to cover the kenzan, so you can't see the metal. The other is to bring a sense of groundedness to this heaven that we just put on our arrangement. So it doesn't have to lay flat. And again, you want to see, you want to be thinking about, is your arrangement going to be seen from the front? Is it going to be seen from all sides? I'm going to think about this one from the point of view of being able to see it from all sides. Now there's a cluster of juniper berries in there that I really want to find out what that would look like on its own. And I love the feel of it almost being windswept over to the side. So I'm going to actually bring that in, incorporate that in. I want to thin it out just a little bit so it isn't quite so cluttered. And I'm going to take this and bring this in the opposite directions, the opposite slant. Now, for the stems, you don't have to cut these underwater, but it does help sometimes to cut it at a slant. And then for the thicker branches, not like this, you could cut it down the middle to create a little bit of an ease to go into the kenzan. Now these two are kind of fighting with each other a little bit. And so I'm actually going to take this leaf off and this leaf off. This is where my scissor comes in handy. These more delicate operations. I'm going to turn this a little bit because, as you can see, the face of the flower is there. So I want it to look here on this one. So with that turning, I'm going to turn this back slightly so you get that windswept. Making sure that you keep cleaning your space as you go along, because there's a tendency to get a mess underneath your flowers, which then starts to cloud your ability to see the lines and shapes. So I have these beautiful red bush branches. So I want to create a little bit of a color in here. I want to draw it out a little to the side. And again, with these branches, you do not need to cut them underwater. And one of the things I loved was seeing this green turning into the red. And I just might see if this one would work. And then bringing in a sense of balance. I feel like we need a little kind of tri-action there. In choosing a place for this arrangement, I decided to put a white bowl under its base to contrast, because the bowl was dark and the table was dark. And again, I feel like it goes really well with the colors, the painting. Working with a vase that's already shaped so beautifully really lends itself to very simple designs. I have this beautiful flower that is variegated purple, and I'm basically going to place this into the side. And again, asymmetry works best with these types of flower arranging. They look more natural. There's some kind of beauty to it. Now, I do not need a whole lot else, to put in here. And I'm creating this. So I have started cutting some of the needles of this pine branch, editing down. I'm going to have this sort of curve that way. I take this, I pull them all together, and then cut. A little bit more on the ones in the back. And then this one on top I want to keep, but I don't want it to be quite so large, so I'm going to cut that one down pretty substantially. So again, with stems, you want to cut at an angle. Let's see. Cut at an angle. Okay. And then for the base, you can even take it and cut it in slightly. This gives it more absorption for the water and easier to stick into the Kenzan. So I want this to be front, and I'm going to place it off to the side. pressing down first. And once you feel like you've got it in securely, then you could start to pull it over to the side. I think having the kenzan slightly to one side would work. And the next one I have is this beautiful pine cone there, which is heavy. So I have to be careful that this branch can, and the kenzan can support the weight of it. And again, I'm going to cut down the pine needles substantially. Creates quite a different look. And I'm bringing out, I'm creating space for that pine cone to be seen. I'm also creating a mess. And then I'm going to clean up a few other extra pieces. Okay, so I like that top. A little shorter here. I like the way that top has come out, accentuating that pine cone. And then this down here, I'm going to be placing it in here, so this will not be seen very much. So I'm going to edit out these. Maybe stay with just that little sweep going down. And this one, I need to cut at an angle, a little bit more of an angle, and cut down the middle slightly, and then taking a look. So it has this natural curve going this way, so we can afford to let it slant that way a little bit because the curve comes back. And come forward or back. I think slightly forward. Hope I wasn't blocking your view. And I think just a little more space there, a little bit sort of countering, balancing each other. And this gets tricky in terms of whether it will stay. Yes. All right, this one has gotten a little crazy. I'm going to tame it, bring it in a little bit, as well as this puff. Okay, now I want to bring in some earth, and because of this lovely color, I think I'm going to bring in this red prickly bush stems. This could be done fairly quickly. Like this sort of thinner one without the leaves. Maybe coming to the back, sort of filling up this space back here. So we have our heaven branches, we put some earth in, and now to sort of work with what we can bring. What kind of flower can we bring? Imagine it. What flower would you bring in? Gut feeling of white. I hope you enjoyed my arrangements, and I hope that you will take it, up yourself, try it. Again, simply needing clippers, a vase, and the Kenzan to hold it. Thank you very much.